Welcome back to Where Are They Now podcast. My guest today, I've been really looking forward to this because it's another champion. I mean, geez, if I don't deliver for you folks, I don't know who would. This guy, to call him fiery and competitive, have a ton of talent, just gets it done on the golf course. And by the way, if he goes sideways, watch out because he could scramble too. Didn't have to go far for his Big Break series. He was the champion of Big Break Ireland, which was aired, I believe, in September of 2011. So it's been a while. We're going to try to pick his brain and reminisce. But Mark Murphy, welcome to Where Are They Now podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Awesome. So what we've been doing is, as you know, we've been reaching out to a bunch of big breakers. We've got the Big Break Mondays that I don't know. I heard they're going to extend them now, but now with golf back, I don't know how much that's going to interfere. But everybody that I know is out just absolutely binge watching these Big Break shows. I was a big fan. We want to find out everything about your journey to the championship in Big Break Ireland. From how you found out, were you a fan first? How did you try out? They want to know everything. We start all these segments out with quick hitters. Quick hitters are questions that came right from our listeners. And so we'll jump right in. Sarah from Jacksonville, Florida asks, hey, Murph, is there anyone in your group that you didn't get along with or didn't like? So we are jumping right in.
I mean, I won't use the word like. I mean, once the competition starts, things change. I mean, once we all met each other at the airport, everybody, was, I suppose, sizing each other up and enjoying each other's company. But once the hammer dropped and the tournament started, myself and Joe didn't get on. That's just the way it was. He was not somebody that I would probably get on with. He probably wouldn't be a guy that I'd hang out with. And that's just the way it was. And, I feel like, I don't know how I portrayed myself on the show, but I hope I portrayed myself as a gentleman and as a guy who was a competitor. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but I will never, ever, if you ever see me cheering on somebody else's misfortune, you can just smack me right in the face. And he did that when I was at it was the peak. I had played really bad in the morning time. I wasn't feeling good about myself, and I hit a shot that I would hit 1,000 balls in the green from with no bother, and it was to probably win the challenge. And he rubbed me the wrong way, and then that's all I'll say. I mean, I haven't talked to him ever since the show. He's probably one of 2 or 3 that I have never contacted since the show has been aired. So your answer to that, whoever is asking the question, is
Sarah understands.
Yeah, I know things at all. I mean, I think I'd have a pint with Joe. I don't really care, but yeah, that's hopefully answered your question, Sarah.
It certainly does. I'm sure it does for Sarah. Luca in Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania says, Mark, how did you develop the relationship with Rocco Mediate? I went to high school with him.
Yeah, myself and Rock have been friends since 2000. I was a caddy at Waterville Golf Course. He came in with a very close friend of mine, JP McManus, who's a guy that brought all the guys in to practice before the British Open. Himself and Lee Jensen went to play golf, and I begged the caddy master to let me play to caddy for them. And Rocco will tell you the story too any day you meet him. I drove the cart and the 2 boys played, and on the 16th tee, I said, Rocco, can I take you on for the last 3 holes? And Rocco says, oh, what clubs are you going to use? And I said, I'll use yours and I'll take you on for the last 3 holes. And if I beat you, he had about 2 or 3 different, he had about 4 drivers and about 3 3-woods. And I said, if I beat you, I'll take a driver and a 3 without your bag. And he's like looking at this, me, and he's like, yeah, right, go ahead. You got some chance. So I finished birdie, par, birdie. And he finished par, birdie, par. So I beat him by a shot, and we've been best friends ever since.
Did you get the hardware? Did you get the clubs or what?
I've been getting hardware ever since. Rocco is one of my best friends, and, he has, I suppose, he's given me more encouragement to the game of golf than anybody else. I mean, I don't play competitively much anymore, but when I was playing, he would never, anytime I ever had any problems or anything I was nervous about when I played the U.S. Amateur at Oakmont, he'd be the guy that I'd ask, hey, what do? I don't know what to do. I'm so nervous. I was so nervous at the US Amateur in Oakmont. He was the only person that got me through it.
Well, he knows it better than anybody right outside of Pittsburgh, and certainly growing up there. So that's a great story. Sean Murphy from Boston asks, hey, Mark, how did the cameras distract you all? What was that like playing with them? Did finally or eventually did you get used to them being on the course?
I love Sean Murphy. See, another pet.
Yeah, shockingly, an Irish guy in Boston.
You know, the first day, it's mind blowing how nervous you are. It's so new. They tell you what you're going to have to do. You have the wake up call was 4 a.m.
Oof.
It was up to yourself what you wanted to do in between the hours. But 4 a.m. they knock on your door and you got to get up. And you get, as soon as you have your shower, you get mic'd. You've got a mic on you and you've signed all this away. So whatever you say from probably 5 a.m. to, I would guess, 5 p.m., 12 hours is solid Golf Channel. They can have whatever they want. You've signed your life away. You know, a couple of times you'd have to remember after lunch, before you went into the toilet, to turn your microphone off because nobody wants to hear that stuff, you know. You know, but for 12 hours a day, you were solid on the mic. And to go back to the cameras, it was probably to this, you know, if you said to me, hey, look, Murph, you can go back onto this golf show again, I would give anything to do it again because it was amazing. But I'm not sure at 42 years old that my heart would be able it was nonstop. You had and you knew because you've seen it before. The minute you get on the screen, when they call your name, it's not like you were there hitting balls in the range for an hour and they say, hey, Murph, come on over here. It's your shot. You sit there, especially in Ireland where it's freezing cold, wrapped in blankets for 2 hours. And then, hey, Murph, flop it over the wall. And people see that. They're like, oh, how could you not hit that shot? I hit that shot a million times and perfect. But the time that they call you from inside in the cold, when you're sitting around watching people do it, you say, oh, man, don't hit that wall. Whatever you do, don't hit the wall. And anything at all, you get it up over. So I never got used to the cameras. I guess at the end, in the final, I didn't see anything. I was numb for the final with Julian. I really didn't. There was nothing to distract me there. I put myself into a bubble. I actually, honest to God, going into the show, never thought I could win it because there was a lot of guys in the show and girls that had credentials a lot better than I did and were competitors. And I felt like as I was watching them, man, I'm going to have a hard time beating these guys. But coming down to the stretch, when Andy got knocked out and I had Mallory and Julian, and they're serious competitors, the both of them, I was thinking, man, I never even thought could win then. I swear. I never even thought I could beat Mallory and Julian. Mallory she had the credentials and she had some serious firepower and she never gave up. And then you have Julian that played on the web.com and everybody says, oh, you don't get onto the web.com by being a bad player.
No.
You know, you don't compete in those tournaments by being a bad player. And yeah, he said his confidence wasn't great because he missed all the cuts or something on the web.com that year. But man, he could still play. And he, you know, all the way down to the end, he was grinding the whole way down. And and for me, it was a wonderful experience. And I would say, like, if I hit enough bad shots on that show, but I hit them at the right time.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think you scrambled really well. You hit shots and then you would, a bad shot here and then one you needed badly and you go and get it. And so it was like survive in advance kind of thing. And you did.
It was. I was mentally prepared going in there that I just didn't care. You have to stay on the show. And if anybody goes in there thinking, oh, I'm going to hit the perfect shot every time, I don't know whether they're ever going to do it again, but it's a big loss. I think everybody, even the Monday that it re-aired, man, had to turn my phone off. It was blowing up because there was so many people. It was like I was after winning it again, you know?
Without the money.
Without the money, you're right.
That's funny. Carol from Huntington Beach, California, speaking of Mallory and Jules, she wants to know, hey, Mark, did you know during the show that Mallory and Jules were getting closer, starting a relationship, or did you have no idea, particularly when it was the three of you in one place?
Julie moved into our house, and we were watching we weren't allowed to get on the phone. We weren't allowed to go on the internet, and we were allowed to get movies. And they'll probably kill me for telling you this, guys, but it's all good.
It's all good.
The movie was Unstoppable. It was about a train. It was the most boring movie I've ever seen in my life. and I was sitting on a chair in front, and Mallory and Julian were sitting on the couch behind. And I don't know what I did. I got up to go to the toilet or something, and I kind of saw their hands together, and I was like, wow, that's weird in a sense, because we're in a tournament here and they're both still in the tournament. So I think the night before the semi-final against Mallory, I think something went down.
There you go.
You ask Mallory and Julian that on Monday. I'm not saying a word.
I gotcha.
Unstoppable was the movie. I'll remember that. So you can ask yourselves on Monday. I ain't saying nothing. I saw a little hand holding the night before the semi-final, and that's all I know.
That's it. I got it. Joe from Philly says, Mark, what really happened to Bennett? Any behind the scenes information? We understand that he had appendicitis, but he seemed to be sick for a while. What was that time period like?
Yeah, it's so long. It's so long ago. He rubbed everybody the wrong way, including his own team. And when he changed all the
Order,
all the orders and everything, and I kind of when he was asked when we got to the airport, was he a professional? He said, I'm a professional pitch and putt player. And that was kind of, for me, was like, at first it set the alarm off. But he went down the stretch with Wendy. Was it what's the girl's name? The first show.
Oh yeah, that she got eliminated.
Wendy. I can't even. 9 years, and I'm so old I can't remember even the name.
I just watched it over again, and I can't remember her name. So
anyway, he went down the stretch with her, and he hit some awesome shots in that. And he kind of rubbed. He was the only person probably there that you could feel, it's me, and if you don't like me, tough luck. I'm a model, and here I go.
Yeah.
And he got sick, and I said on the show, you could put a bullet in my head,
both legs or something.
I would stop playing, and that's the way I felt. And did I feel bad about it? No, not really, because I'm a competitor, and that's why I was there. And I felt bad that he got sick, and he was the only person on the show that I guess got dealt a short hand because he didn't get to play. But that's life, unfortunately, and. Who knows? Maybe he'd have beaten me in the final.
No, I doubt it. So this one is tough for you because you might not know the answer. I say that tongue in cheek. Tell us about the eliminated players. Where did they go? Did they still stay at the same place? Did they get to eat with you guys? Were they day drinking? Were they playing any golf?
Once you're out, you're out. You sign that away. What they do with you is probably different to every show. I'm not sure about how much. I'm at 10 years now, and if they're not going to do it again, I presume I can't get in too much trouble for it. But I remember. Why can't I remember her name? Is it Wendy? No. That's so sad. The girl knocked off the first time. She went to a hotel room all on her own that first night, and I know that she had a hard time because you got knocked off the show, and then you were all on your own.
Yeah.
And then she started getting company, and they were all in the hotel for the first while. Doing their thing. We never saw anybody. Once you were knocked off, you were done until the finale. And we had two houses side by side, rented out. And then because there was only one left, which was Julian in that house, they brought everybody over to Julian's house, and then Julian moved in with us. So they saved a few bucks in the hotel rooms the last couple of nights. I presume that happened. I'm sure the Golf Channel don't spend money when they don't need to.
I bet you're right. Couple more quick hitters. This one's from Bill from Austin, Texas. Hey Murph, were you surprised, as all of us watching, when Joe selected Julian for the elimination challenge? Did that guy just want to go home? It seemed like Nina was the obvious pick. That's what Bill has to say.
Yeah, it was surprising, but that's his personality. Once again, I said it earlier on. I wouldn't have I'd have a beer with him, but he wouldn't be one of the guys that I'd call all the time to hang out with. For me, here's an honest to God answer. When I went on that show, I looked at them. I swear to you, the first day we were there, we were in the K Club. We just got introduced to one another. We landed at the K Club. Everybody was told to be down at the K Club, and they said, everybody into that room. So we went into a room, and I swear on my life, this is no word of a lie. I was sitting in a big chair, and there was 11 people around me, all doing exercises. They were all stretching, and they were all getting down, and they were all doing down dogs and all sorts of things. I remember Nicole was actually, her legs were up against the wall, and she was doing
Handstand push-ups.
And here's me thrown on a chair, big fat Irish guy thrown on a chair, thinking, when's my next pint of Guinness coming? And I'm watching, how am I going to beat all these guys? I mean, I've got, everybody is, they're all got rolling balls, and they've got everything you can imagine to do what they wanted to do. And here's me thrown in the chair thinking, I've got to beat all of these. So I think his personality got the better of him. And he said to himself, listen, he even said, oh, I think I can beat, if I'm going to win this thing, I'm going to beat, I need to beat Julian. Problem being with that is you don't know how people react under pressure. So I'd be trying to take on the person I felt weakest at the time. That's what I would have said. And I don't think Julian was the weakest at the time, so I wouldn't have picked him.
Got it. Emily from Studio City, California wants to know, what did you guys do at night? I know there were long days, but did you do anything at night?
Nothing.
Nothing. You're dead tired.
I tell you what we did. We could drink as much as we wanted. The bar was always stocked, and I feel like they stacked the bar so that they could get a little bit more juice out of you for the interviews. So the interviews that you see on the TV, so what happens is you come back to the house, and if you're still on the show, they come in, they say, okay, Murph, you're at 6 o'clock, and Julian, you're at 7 o'clock, and Mallory, you're at 8 o'clock, or whatever. So you got your time. So you can time what you do. The dinner served at the same time every evening. When you came off the course, you had your dinner, and then you could do what you liked after that. So by the time that you did 12 hours on camera, and then you had your dinner, and then you were told, okay, you had to be here. But that didn't ever hurt. I had a couple of nice whiskeys in the evening time. I often brought a couple of whiskey to the interview, but the interviews lasted a solid hour after too. So it's 12 hours on the course, and then you had your shower, and you had your dinner, and then you were told what time, and then it was a good solid hour plus every night of interviews. So you hadn't much time to do anything.
That was amazing. Programming note, if you have any questions for your favorite big breaker star, send them to Twitter or Instagram at Where Are They Now Podcast, or email us at whereartheynowpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll go get those answers for you. In the coming weeks, we have a lot of interviews coming up. Double D, Don Donatello, Cindy Miller, Andy Walker, a friend of Mark's, Mark Silver, and many, many more coming up from the Big Break series we're doing here. Right now, we're speaking with the Big Break Ireland champ, Mark Murphy, and we're going to jump in to how this all started. Mark, were you a Big Break fan? How did you find out about tryouts? Tell us about the origin of this whole journey.
Can I say to my daughter first?
Hey, how you doing? She is a cutie.
This is Elle. This is the woman, the most wonderful woman in the world right here. She's
nice to meet you, Elle. You're cute.
Can you run away with mommy? I'll be right down. Honey. I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was, tell us about the origin of this whole thing. Were you a Big Break fan? How did you try out? How did this whole thing start? How did you understand,
I used to watch it, but I won't say that I was like the man that spent hours a day watching it. I had seen it on TV a couple of times, and I was actually involved in a company my buddy had up and running called Galway Bay. It was a rain suit company, and we were in Tampa giving out rain suits to I think it was a Champions Tour event or something. And he said to me, hey, he said, they're doing tryouts for Big Break in Orlando. And I was like, really? I was like, I didn't know that. He's like, let me call up and put your name in. I mean, if they don't allow you go on the Big Break, nobody get on it. And I was like, yeah, right, the usual. So he called up and he said, you've got an interview today at 2:00. And I was like, really? I was like, geez. And I'm in like weird, I'm in clothes that wouldn't be suitable. I'm thinking, man, I'm trying to get on this show. And so I go into a Nike store and I buy Nike shoes. I bought Nike pants. I getting reimbursed for that. Nike shirt. I was like the man going to the interview. And the funny thing was, I wasn't up for the interview. I wasn't rehearsed for the interview. I was just like, whatever. If they pick me, they pick me. Because my buddy was more interested in me getting on than I was myself. And I just had the fun with it. I just was the way I am now. And see, what you see is what you get. And they picked me. And it was pretty cool. They told me think they called me about a while later and they said, you know, you're down to the top 30 people that's in consideration. And I was like, oh, you know, I was always thinking to myself, I'm not getting on, because I feel like when you play golf for a living, you know, golf is not a sport that you feel like you'll get a whole lot back out of. You work your ass off and you don't get a whole lot back in return. You know, you lose a lot more than you'll ever win. So I wasn't expecting to get on, and I did. And, you know, that's why I'm here, I guess.
That's pretty cool. So you find out you're on, you got to sign your life away. It is top secret information. I imagine you can't open your mouth from the day you sign up or they tell you you're on till the thing airs, right? Way back after you do the whole event. How hard was that to even?
Yeah, it was brutal. It was very hard. It was more hard because I knew I won than anything else. You know, if you don't know, you know, if you could stay away from it, in the sense that if you could, if I didn't win, it wouldn't have been so bad, because I said, listen, I didn't win nothing and it was no big deal. But when you win, you've got to keep that under wraps, because you've got the most to lose. You know, I had made, I don't know, $60,000-$70,000, and I had the most to lose. So that was the hardest part of it all, being quiet. I actually left the K Club and drove to my cousin's wedding in Carsavine, about 10 miles of where I live. And I was with all my cousins, all my family, and I couldn't say a word. Like, where were you? You know, why are you here? Why are you in Ireland? And I was like, oh, I just came over. And guess Julian came with me.
Really? To the wedding?
That day, and he's like, I'll probably never see Ireland again, so I'll come with you. And you know, United Airlines, because we were flying first class, changed our tickets for free. And he's like, you know, I'll never probably see Ireland again, so I'll go with you. So we went to a wedding that night, and that's why I say Julian is like, you won't meet better than Julian. He came and he danced all night long with all my family. Nobody knew I won. Nobody knew he lost. We went to Ireland, Waterville, my hometown. I'd say we spent 4 or 5 days golfing every single day, drinking pints, showing him Ireland, and we couldn't tell anybody one thing.
That is a great story. So before we get to the actual competition, I want to talk a little bit about the pressure. As I've done these interviews, I realize that it's not just about the cameras. The cameras are probably the least amount of pressure, but we talk about, when you mention the talent of the people that are there, even people that are having not so great. So Brian Cooper, who was on one of the series, said the only regret he has is that when he went to Big Break, that he was playing better at the time. He wasn't playing very good. Mark Silvers, who won Greenbrier, said he was excited about the timing because he was hitting on all cylinders at the time. But even the folks that didn't necessarily play very well, all of them can make a shot. I just did an interview, as I told you, with Toph Peterson, and he said, you know, one of the guys that kind of made look like he wasn't one of the better players was Christian. This guy holed out from 60 yards. You know, he made a 20-foot putt. So it's the talent level is one daunting thing that certainly would put pressure on you. But then you add the weather, and you guys, I've seen every Big Break episode. I've never seen what you guys have seen when you were north of Dublin on your road trip. We'll talk about that. I want to hear about that in a second. But then the delays between shooting, and this all came out. I didn't know that was part of it, but to go on the driving range, in our mind, you know, and perception is reality, we think you're hitting the ball there and you're going right to the tee box, or you're going right to a challenge. We don't realize you're sitting in blankets on a freezing cold bench for, you know, an hour and a half before they give you the nod to come over and shoot. And by the way, when you do shoot, you might have one shot and then you got to go sit down again. I mean, that kind of pressure. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was. I tell you a funny story. It's off topic, but the day we went to the K Club, we were all sitting down with all the people that were involved. You know, Irish people that sponsored and different stuff. We were at a big table, and they passed the microphone around to everybody to introduce themselves. And they got to me, and I was thinking to myself, what am I going to say? And I said, listen, I said, my name is Mark Murphy, and I'm from Waterville, Ireland. And I said, the funny thing is, I have watched this show, you know, a lot. And I said, they go to the Bahamas, they go to, you know, everywhere that's always sunny. And trust my luck, look at the Irish. I get picked to come on the show when it's on in Ireland, when it pisses rain most of the time, you know. And it actually was pretty cool because everybody got a great kick out of it. But you have no idea it's very hard, even 9 years later, to tell you the pressure that you were under, because it was so. It was so spur of the moment. It was just you didn't. Sometimes you didn't even know when it was going to be your shot, because you didn't know how long it was going to take the person in front of you.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, if you can, like when I get to the tee, when I used to play competitively, I'd say, all right, I'm playing at 9-10. I'll be at the course at 8-10. I'll be able to do a few putts, hit a few shots, and then 9-10, the bell will drop and I'm ready to go. But everybody's like texting me even when they watch the show again. How did you duff that bunker shot to win $5,000? I had sat up on the hill there for 45 minutes before I'd hit it. That's no excuse. I'm not making an excuse. I'd probably hit 10,000 balls. Pressure, total pressure. I absolutely cacked myself. That was one thing. But the other side of the coin is I did sit around and watch everybody else do everything before me. And I'm human. And like, back then, I'd say I'm a much better player now than I was 9 years ago, I would think. And, then again, that was something for me at the time of the show that I needed. I needed to kick up the arse. I needed to say, hold on a minute, you've got 4 left. I can't believe you just choked it up there. But I feel like all those things helped me going forward. Like the day that I played terrible, there was one time I played when, I think I'm losing my memory. When what's his name got knocked off. This guy from South Africa or New Zealand or wherever he was from. I played so bad that day. I felt so bad about myself. The next day it was a total my mind went switched back on again. And I was like, you know what I mean? He's gone. He's so good. He was a brilliant player and he's gone. Now, it was your fault, but you're not here to make friends. I'm not here to hit the perfect shot. You hit the shot when needs to be done. When I need to hit the right shot, I did. And that's why I won. I didn't play the best golf on the show. You look back through the show, you'll say, oh, he should have won it. That's not what the Golf Channel, that's not what the Big Break is about.
No,
it's about you getting through from show to show. And that's why it's so ridiculous. That question you were asked earlier about Joe picking Julian, that's why it's so ridiculous, because he had a great chance on the show. He took on Nina, who loves to talk about everybody else being so bad. But at the end of the day, she wasn't that good herself. And he goes and picks the number 1 guy on the show, Julian. Not that smart.
No, not at all. Let's talk. The fans want to know a lot about the glass break, what you thought about it. Not necessarily the performance, but you did good in both, the flop wall as well. I remember you and Kelly, I think, were up against Nicole and Nina in that, and you knocked it to about 12 feet. And Kelly you had that big hole, but that thing was a bigger breaker than she thought. Tell us about the flop wall and the glass breaking.
The glass break was easy, I feel. The glass break was whatever. If you go ahead and you hit the glass and break it, good. I mean, the whistle goes off and you go for it. But I feel like the wall was brutal, because the wall got every emotion going through your head you could possibly think of, because you're saying, don't hit it into the wall, don't hit yourself, don't be on big break bloopers. You know what I mean? I felt like the hole was so big, once you got it over the top of the wall, it was anywhere within 10, 15 feet. It was, you couldn't, I won't say you couldn't miss the putt, because anything can happen, but I felt like once you get it over the wall, you had a pretty decent chance of making it 2. The glass break for me was not as nerve-wracking. I felt like I'm a low ball flight anyway. I flight the ball very low. So for me, I was thinking I'm going to smash it. But for the wall break, or for the wall, that was probably the hardest shot in the show for me, because I felt like, man, that would be the one that would put it up to you. And I love flop shots. I'll hit a flop shot all day for you. But the one shot that I was so nervous on, that I thought, man, this is where you could really screw up, was the flop wall for sure.
Well, you did a good job there. Then you guys head on a road trip to north of Dublin, right on the water. It was, they showed it so picturesque and beautiful. And then they show you on the course, and the winds, I think they said 50 miles an hour, and rain, and you guys are wrapped up in stuff. It just it looked tough. Tell us about the conditions over there. That was brutal.
Also things that I worked on myself, in a sense that it's a very mental, the big break was a very mental thing. So I never, ever I felt to myself, I'm going to win. I'm going to have my guard up for the whole 12 hours a day and say, this is what I grew up in. I love this. This is what I grew up in. If you want to take me on in this, go for it. And I felt like a lot of people took heed of that, and I never went to the elimination. I should have went to the elimination a couple of times, and I felt like my mouth did my work, which a lot of my friends that are listening to this will say, "Oh yeah, that's for sure," but it's true.
Yeah.
Felt like if I continue to say, "Hey, I love this weather, and this is the kind of weather I love," maybe they'll think they'll second guess taking me to elimination. And I think, I look back at the show and I think Andy Walker, he took Mallory. If it was the other way around, would I have taken Mallory? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
She got a T, and for me, I'm not sure I would have picked her. But
she was knocking everybody out, right? She was
the eliminator.
Whew.
So she knocked everybody out, so she wasn't afraid. So for me, I'm not sure I would have taken her to the elimination in that show with four shows to go,
So before we get to the final four, I want to talk about the incident that happened on the immunity challenge on the green with Julian. So you're both on the green, both have putts for birdie, and all of a sudden he stands up and says, "My ball just moved and I was addressing the ball." And like there's even on the show, it's like silence for a while. No one's saying anything. And they come over and they check it out and they penalize him a stroke. And then he buries, by the way, the 15-footer after that. And I'm thinking, and then they show you, and I think he had a 6 or 7-footer. And I'm like, there's no way Murph is making this after all that. And then he buries that big one. There's no chance. I mean, we're going to push again here. And you buried it. That was a big spot right there. Tell us about that, all that events going on that green.
Well, I mean, most of the people that are listening to the show are golfers, and the bottom line of it is in golf, you've got to expect the unexpected. And I never expect it to happen. I never, Julian is a competitor. All these people are competitors. And when you play golf, you have to expect that somebody's going to do something crazy. And it's happened to me as an amateur golfer, as a pro golfer. I'm thinking, I got this in the bag. I got this guy beaten. And, you're 2 up with 2 to go. And you're on the green 6 feet and he holds. And I've got stories for you I could wear you out with. So I don't take anything for granted in the game of golf. And anybody listening that's trying to be competitive, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. It's got to be all down to you. Whatever you do is all you can do. If anybody else is doing something over there and you get beaten, you get beaten. But once you give it your all and do it, and that's what, for me, I was totally focused on what I was doing in that situation, and I couldn't believe what did happen. But Julian is that kind of guy. He's not going to take it for granted and stand up on national TV and see this ball move, and then afterwards it's all over and see that happen. So, I still get on great with Julian and Mallory, and I mean, Julian, that's the kind of guy he is. He's going to be honest, and so would I. If that happened to me, I'd be the same way, because that's just the way the game of golf is.
Absolutely.
Not doing, forget it.
Yep. So Mallory beats Andy and Jules ends up with immunity, and that puts a head-to-head match between the eliminator and the Irish guy. And that was a great match, a 4-hole match. Take us through your memory of that, if you have any memories. I have the stats and how it went. Tied after the first, and then you made a huge putt on the second.
Yeah, I knew Mallory. Me and Mallory were great friends from the start of the show till the end of the show. We were in the same house. In the evening times we'd talk to each other. She was in a relationship at the time. She was just out of a relationship. We were chatting and talking about golf and the whole works, and we became great friends. We were in the house the whole time for the 2 weeks. We were almost in so it was very hard for me in the sense to take her on, but I knew if I wanted to win, I had to beat her. And she said, "Oh yeah, Mark's trying to make little of everything that's going on. He's trying to talk to me and trying to do this." I wasn't doing anything different than I do all the time. That's just my personality. I played, totally off the subject, I played big break reunion against, I'm trying to think of who I played in the first round. I led the qualifier in the stroke, and I played in the first round, and my buddy came out and watched, and he said, "You lost that for yourself." He was totally in my face. And I said, "What are you talking about? You're too nice. You're too nice to the guy. You loosened him right up and he beat the shit out of you." I said, "He'd 8 birdies. I mean, that's just the way it is." But he said, that doesn't excuse it. He shot 8 under par against me. I shot 4 under and I got beaten. Who won that big break reunion? Was it not Mark Silver? The Kinney, Anyway, it doesn't matter. But that's what my buddy said to me. You're way too nice. You're way too nice. You don't have the killer instinct. And maybe he was right, because I don't play anymore for a living. You know what I mean? I look back at it. But, you know, the stuff that I remember about that was, you know, I dropped the par 3, the first hole, the par 3. We both pars. She had a good chance for birdie there, and she didn't make it. And then we both missed the green. I didn't want to go above. If you don't see it on TV, but the second hole, if you went above the flag and hit that back bunker, you could make 10, because there was no stopping it going down. So if you hit it over the green, that's why I kind of whiffed my second shot in there. I wanted it short of the flag. Naturally enough, I didn't want it that short. And then I pitched it 3-4 feet above the flag where I didn't want to be. So I felt like, you know, the ball was in her court there, because, you know, she was right underneath the hole, and she was putting first. So she makes now, the pressure is big time on me. So fortunately for me, I made it. And then the third hole was like, I never went into that saying, I'm going to lay up. I'm going for it. I've got this far. I've thought, you know, I've had a great experience. If I don't win, I don't win, but I'm not laying up on anything. And then I hit it in that bunker. And that shot, to this day, to get it over, like, they make it so dramatic that, you know, it was going to water, it's going to water. It was never going to water. You know, I was never worried about it going to water, because I hit it solid enough. But for me to take on that shot, you know, was, I grew a pair for that shot, for sure.
Yeah, you did. That was a gutsy shot, no doubt.
And you know, and to be able to get it up and down out of that bunker, I felt like I'm missing a hole there, aren't I? I'm missing a hole, because I dropped about a 25-footer on the third hole. That was the fourth hole I'm talking about. Yeah, I dropped about a 25-footer for birdie to go one head, and then the last hole was when I hit it in the bunker on the right. I hit it in the other bunker. And once I got it in the other bunker and I got it dry, I thought, when I'm a shot ahead, I got nothing to lose. You know, I felt like if I get it on the green and I have a putt at it, I'll have a putt to win, because she's over the back of the green and she still isn't, you know, getting it up and down. Yeah. But it was my putter, you know, coming down the stretch there, last 2 or 3 shows, my putter got, and then there was no beating me.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That 8-footer at the end, you had to hit an 8-footer to just end it. So now it brings you and Julian head to head in the 18-hole match. And that one, needless to say, I think that's the one we were looking forward to. You know, you were kind of the captain of the captains. I know you guys switched around the captains, but that team was your team. It just, you're the dominant force. And although he was also the leader of his, he just led by example, and he got it done. You know, Nina kind of was the mouth over there, and Joe, I don't mean the mouth, but she was the, you know, more outgoing, and Joe was as well. But I think the viewers, and being one of them, they wanted to see that matchup. And it wouldn't have been bad if Mallory was in the mix, because she certainly earned her stripes. She was hitting the ball great as well. But to go through Mallory, and now you have Julian, that's the 2 of the best players beside yourself on the show. Tell us about your memories of the 18 holes with Julian.
The first memory of Julian was we woke up in the morning. I was very fortunate to have one room in the show. I mean, when we got in there, there was 3 rooms in each house. I had my own double bed downstairs. When you walk in the front door, straight in, you go straight to my room, which I loved. You know, even when I traveled as a player, I did share, because it was able to cut down expense, but I wasn't a huge fan of sharing a room with somebody if they snored, whatever goes with it. Yeah. So I had my own room. So we came out of our bedrooms at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were dressed the exact same. We had the exact same clothes on. I think white pants and a green shirt. And I looked at him and he looked at me, and we looked at each other, and it was just like, what's going on here? You know, the producer comes out and goes, you can't be dressed the same. It can't happen. So I said to Julian, you got any, because we're there for 2 weeks. I said, you got any clothes that are clean? And he's like, I'm down to brass tacks, bud. And I was like, look, listen, I'll change. So I changed my clothes. I can't even remember back then. I changed my clothes because we were wearing the exact same outfit. It was head to toe the exact same. And, you know, we had together, and it was cordial, and you know, but at the end of the day, man, you've got your livelihood on the line, and it was cracking. And you know, I went out with that, with my whole attitude there was the same as it was the whole way. I have nothing to lose. I have got nothing to lose. Is he a better player than me? Maybe. Has he played in a lot more events than me? Maybe. But, when I've ever went into an Irish Open, which I've played in a number of them, I've not backed down, and I've made most of the cuts in all the events that I've been, entered into. And I said, you know what? It's on in Ireland. You play nice and steady. You never know. And, the first 4 or 5 holes there, I was thinking to myself, he's driving it all over the place and he's knocking it on all the greens. And I was thinking, maybe it is his day. But once again, I went back to, if it's his day, I'm not going to make it his day. I'm going to play my own game. I'm going to play it inside myself. And that's why Mallory on one of the holes says he's never happy with any shot he hits. Yeah. That's because I'm so focused in whatever I was doing. I didn't care what Julian was doing. That was his own business. If I'm going to win. And that's a great thing. I don't coach any young people. I would love to, because if I feel like I have so much to give back from what I've learned through the game of golf, in the sense that you can only control your destiny, your golf ball. That's it. That's why these guys in the PGA Tour have got so good at what they do. They don't care about anybody else. They could care less about what you're doing. They might be nice to you, but at the end of the day, they're worried about their own golf ball. And, it was back and forth the whole way through the ground. Like, I felt like my holding a putt, getting up and down the back of the 9th green, I felt like in my own head that was a turning point to stay. I think I was 2 down, was I, going to the back 9?
Yes, you were.
And I got up and down like from over the back of the green. I felt like if I went 3 down there, it was curtains.
Yep.
And then Julian hit that poor 3-wood on. That was the same 3-wood he hit on the elimination challenge a couple of 2 or 3 days before. I don't know why he didn't break that thing over his knee, because that, to me, looking back at it, it kind of cost him the show, because I beat him in the elimination when there was only 4 of us left, and then he hits the same 3-wood like off the planet on that hole, number 11, so number 10, and then I hit, like, he hit it in the water on 11. I didn't get up and down, so I was thinking to myself, that's after putting a real kick in the armor here, because I didn't think after 11 that I could win. And
then you buried the putt on 12, 20-footer to bring it even.
And then I thought to myself, maybe I have a chance here again, And then coming down, I knew the stretch. I knew what was coming up. I knew 16, 17, and 18. I've watched them a million times in the European Open as a kid. I watched, I said in the show, I watched Thomas Bjorn hit like 10 balls into the water in number 16 when he was leading the event one year. And I knew what was coming on. So I felt like if I could get to 16, 2 down, I was still 2 down. In my mind, I'm thinking going to 12. If I can get to 16, I still have a chance, because anything can happen on the last 6 holes of that golf course. Yeah. It's such a cool golf course. Anything can happen. And, fast forward, I guess, I dropped that bomb to go 1 down. And then I got back to level on 15. I dropped the bomb on 15, too, for birdie, the par 3. I birdied the 2 par 3s in the back now. I never knew that till now.
He started struggling. You were making a charge, and it affected him. You could actually see it. It was tangible. You could see it was affecting him. His play wasn't as crisp as it was. And here you go into 16, and it's all even. I think you end up going up 1 after 16, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I was 1 up going into 16, and I duffed it into the water, didn't I?
Yeah, I don't know if that was 16. I thought you were 1 up after 16.
Didn't I lay up in the par 5, 16, and I duffed it into the water? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and then we went to 17, and I was 1 up. I must have went down a big tangent there in the turn. Because I was 2 down, and I must have been 1 up going to. I was 1 up going to 17. Was I 2 up going to 16? Man, it's so long ago. I don't even know.
I have in my notes you were 1 up going to 16
with a wedge from right in front of the green.
Yeah.
And then he hauled a putt, about 15-foot putt on number 17 to force it into the last hole.
Right.
Yeah. He hauled about a 50-footer, which was unbelievable. I didn't think he was going to make that, man. I thought I was turned at the back of the green, my head in my hands, thinking, man, this is unreal. I'm going to win this sucker.
So you were 1 up going into 18. Remind everybody what happened on 18.
Yeah. I mean, I have got that attitude, and maybe it's got me that face. I don't know. I have the attitude like, everybody looks at that thinking, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. Mallory says, oh my God, what's wrong with laying up? I get that. But if I can't hit a golf shot from 200 yards over water to win a tournament, I don't deserve to have my name on my bag, dude. I swear, I don't feel like that's. I feel like when you're that nervous, laying up to the right-hand side was as narrow as it was to knock it on the green. What people don't know about that shot was when I hit that shot, the wind gusted that ball. I pured that 5-iron. Absolutely out the screws, I flushed it. And the wind hit it and it dropped short. Fast forward to the playoff, 19th hole, I hit my tee shot within about 2 feet of where that divot was. And I knew this party was over. I took the 4-iron out and I hit the exact same shot on the exact same line. And I knew when it was in the air after I hit it, that was game over, because I knew I hit the wrong club. When you look back at it, you're thinking to yourself, how could you hit it in the water, dude? Hit it over the back of the green in the bunker or something. Hit it dry land, you know? But
Right.
I don't know what I'm thinking, man. The pressure, I'm going to win the big break. I'm shitting myself. I don't know what's going on. I'm not, I can't even see. I'm so nervous. And I was never like, when I look back at it, I'm like, oh my God, I cringe every time I see it. I can't believe you did that. But you know what I mean? It was good for TV.
Yeah, there certainly was. And then, so let's get to, now you win this thing. You close it out. You win this thing. And we got a ton. Mark, if I tell you we got 50 questions about the end of it, what happened? Where did you go? Are you going right to the airport, or do you have a party? So many people want to know, when that's over, what happens?
Nothing. We went back to the same house we were staying in, and we had a couple of drinks. Naturally enough, it was kind of like, because we went back to the house. We all signed each other's flags. They gave us a flag each, so everybody signed the flag. I'm sure there was 11 people that didn't win, and there was me that won. So I wasn't trying to be the, it was a wonderful experience, and and I'm sure it was very disappointing for 11 people, and only one can win. I broke the wedge actually for everybody on the 16, the wedge that I hit into the water on 16. For the whole week, it didn't look right. When I look, when you look down at a wedge and it just don't look right.
Mm-hmm.
The whole week, every time I hit a shot with it, it was shocking how bad it was. So I did stand on my wedge in my room when I was packing my bag on the 16. Like if social media was as big now as it was back then, there would have been some cool videos. But I did break that, and we didn't do anything, man. We just hung out and had a few drinks, and everybody left first thing the next morning. The flights were a stupid hour, and everybody packed up and had a few cocktails and signed each other's flags, and that was it. It was the end of it. Me and Julian, I don't know, we rented a car and drove to Waterville.
Awesome. That's a great story too. Just the fact that you guys hung out for a few days, had some drinks, played some golf, went to a wedding, you danced. That's a great story. So now the thing airs. Are you instant celebrity? Did you have a viewing party? What happened?
It was actually unbelievable. I lived in New Orleans at the time, and all my friends, we did a watch show in every house. All my friends, we did I think it was Tuesday night it aired.
Yep,
Tuesday night, we went around to different houses.
Oh, that's cool.
A friend of mine owned an Irish bar, and we had an Irish themed night. It was unbelievable. I won, and I was pouring whiskey off the counter into people's mouths. They were all heads up like this.
Do Irish people like Jameson as much as just like an Italian like me?
Yeah, they enjoy it. They do. And my sponsor at the time owned a bar in New Orleans. He still owns it, by the name of Walk-Ons. It's right across from the Superdome. And because I got into the finale, he shut the place down for the night and gave everybody like a special pass. Only the friends that I had invited, and they all got sent passes to their houses, and he shut the whole place down. And we had a party at Walk-Ons till the early hours of the morning. All my sponsor paid for everybody to drink and eat all night long.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It was pretty neat.
That is awesome. That is really cool. So the question most people want to know is, what are you up to today? What's going on with Mark Murphy today?
I'm living in Jupiter, Florida. I'm married to my wife, and I have a beautiful little 2.5-year-old girl. If you watch, she came rolling in. She's been hammering the door here for me to come up. We're very active. For the last 10 or 11 weeks, I've been home with her because there hasn't been a whole lot going on, and I just want her to be safe. That's what matters to me. I like to teach. I enjoy teaching, but living in Jupiter it's a difficult place to get a place to teach. So I travel a little bit, I teach a little bit, and I look after my little girl a little bit. So life is great for me at the moment. I've got I've got no problems going on down here.
Give us your final thoughts on Big Break. What's the takeaway? What was your feeling about it? The good, the bad, the ugly? Tell us a little bit about that post experience.
It changed my life. I mean, when I went to the golf show in December after it aired, I've been very fortunate through the game of golf. I've met Tiger. I've met a lot of people. I actually hung out with Tiger in Pebble Beach years ago, 2004, when Fluff was caddying for him, and saw what it was like to be Tiger because I was with Fluff. So I traveled with Fluff wherever he went with Tiger in the car, and I always thought to myself, man. Now, it wasn't anything even close to that, but it gave me a little recognition of, people watch the Big Break a lot. So when you're at the golf show, a lot of people will recognize you from it because it was still warm. And when you walk around there, it was so fun to meet people that actually love the show. You say you got so many, questions and different stuff. I'd love to be able to answer them all. I'm happy to, if they've got Twitter or they've got, they can just go onto Twitter and send me some questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions they have. But it changed my life. It really did. I quit golf. I wasn't playing anymore. Big Break opened a big door for me, and I continued to play, and I continued to meet a lot of amazing people. I got invited to pro-ams that I would never have been invited to. I got played Ben Roethlisberger's pro-am. He was my hero, and I was playing, and I was on one of the holes. And he comes running over and he's like, Murph, I got to take a picture with you. My wife loved you on the Big Break. And I'm like, dude, your wife loved me. Oh, you were her favorite. Can I take a picture with you? And I'm like, you're asking me to take a picture. He's one of my heroes. I watched American football since I was a child in Ireland, and, to meet Ben Roethlisberger, like I play golf with Drew Brees in New Orleans when I lived there because of the Big Break. Nothing else to do with anything. But the game of golf opens so many doors and, brings you in contact with so many wonderful people. And I mean, I'd encourage everybody in the world to play golf because it's an amazing game. And, if you are a professional or you're going to become a professional as a young child growing up that has expectations of becoming a pro, if you're not interested in doing 12 hours a day, working at it, you need to go do something else because some people don't like to hear that, but I mean that's just the way it is. I didn't have that drive in me to spend 12 hours playing golf every day, working as hard as these guys are, and they work. I'm neighbors right now with Eric Van Ryan, and every time I pass his house he's working out every single time, and I say to him every time, I'm like, yeah, how you doing, buddy? Make me feel bad about myself. Every time I pass the house he's working out.
Well, let me tell you this. I'm glad you said that you'd love to answer all the questions because I'm telling our listeners, and I'm going to be connecting with you pretty soon. We're going to do a live Champions 90-minute at the end of July where we're going to bring back 3, 4, 5 champions of Big Break, and we're going to have live questions in from all the viewers. So you'll be hearing more of that pretty soon.
I've made the list.
You are on the list. Yeah, you and Mark and others are on the list. So we'll be announcing that pretty soon. And listen, we're really excited about having you here. We all wish you the best. You were awesome on the show. You're a great guy. And we'll be talking to you again. We're looking forward to that.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Anytime. I'd be happy to come on. I appreciate your time and take care of yourself.
Thanks, Murph. Take care.
Bye. Bye-bye.